So with the real estate market constantly changing, there's always something new that's coming up. One of the things that I've noticed coming up the most is the appraisal. Recently, in the past few months, past few weeks, I've noticed that a lot of my properties have not met appraised value. What this means is that the lender or the bank sends out a third-party person to go look at a property and look at the condition and the value of the home. As far as condition, it has to be in a livable state. And as far as value, they have to meet or exceed the offer that you put on the property. So we're gonna take a $300,000 house as an example, and it comes back at $280 as far as the value. There's a huge problem here, that there's a $20,000 gap there. So what this means is that there's only 4 options that you can do in this instance in order to get that property or to back out. So the first one is going to be the obvious one, is to actually back out of the contract. So if it does not meet the value of the property, you come back at $280. As a buyer, you can back out of the contract. The second option is one that is probably not favorable for the buyer, but the seller would love, is to pay the difference. This is usually done in a market where you're getting multiple offers on a house. It's typically on a 2% interest rate market. Right now we're at 7-8%. It's not really too much of a thing that's going on. So paying the difference means that if your value comes back at $280 and you offer $300,000 on the house, you can pay an extra $20,000 of that gap to the seller out of pocket. So that means that it's going to be a little bit more expensive at the end, but you get the property. Again, buyers usually don't do this. Sellers would love for this to happen. Now, on the flip side, you had the third option, which is dropping the price, which the buyer would love and the seller would hate. So in this case, the value comes back at $280 and you offer $300,000. So you drop the price from $300 to $280 in order to get it to the appraised value. Again, the seller would hate this, but the buyer would love this because they get the house at a lower price. Now, the fourth option is one that not many realtors know about, and it's because realtors don't get this usually until their 3rd or 4th year when they had to renew their license. So it's actually sending your own comps to the appraisal. You can do this as a realtor. You can actually do this as a buyer or seller in order to increase that price. So what I mean by this is you have an average of 3 properties that the appraisal chooses, 3 or 4 properties. And from those 4, they're going to narrow down the price and give you an exact price, right? So when you send your own comps to the appraisal, you can increase the average so that the value of the house is probably not at $280. Maybe it goes to $290, maybe it's $300. So you can send your own comps to the appraisal. Now, it's completely up to the appraiser if they want to accept those properties. It's kind of like saying, hey, you didn't really do your job right. There's these other 2 properties. They may take it the wrong way. So you kind of want to be careful as to how you word it when you send it to the appraiser. You may want to say, hey, I was looking at some properties in the area and I found these other 2. Would you please take them into consideration? So those are your 4 options to do when the appraisal comes back lower than expected. And again, if you have any other questions, please call me below 210-596-9515. Thank you for watching, and until next time. Okay, so this is a little bit separate from what I was talking about earlier, but it's a little quick tip that I'm going to give you all. So if you're offering $300,000 on a house and the value comes back at $310, as a buyer, you probably don't want to let the seller know, right? Or the seller's agent know. That's your appraisal. You have the right to that. That's your personal property. Now, you have an extra $10,000 in there. What some people do, and what I've told other buyers, is that you can increase the price from $300 to $310 and then ask for $10,000 in concessions. Of course, look at your max percentage on there, but that means that you come out of pocket $10,000 less. So this is just something that you can do when the value comes back a little bit higher. If it comes back higher and you don't want to mess around with it, you just say, we met value. That's it. They don't need to know anything else. They don't need to know that it went higher than price. If it's lower, then there's a problem, but if it's higher, don't say it. Single thing.